Hello, hello, hello. I think this is my last video now before we're coming back to the other house where we have internet. We finally found a contractor to do the deck on this house. So it took us years and years because, every time we met some kind of contractor, then we blabbed too much about our views and stuff like this. And like that Carlton guy, for example, that got really mad because he's a patriot and we share nothing of his worldview. Okay, our worldview is infinitely different to his. But we finally found a nice, wonderful, God level person. This is what I wished for, and the Blue God brought him to us. And he gets along with Paul, which is very, very rare. And I was already monitoring the situation. So he's here right now, and he is talking to Paul in the garage. They're talking about the remodeling of the deck right now. But Paul talked way too much about his drumming and all of that. That made me like, I hope he doesn't chase this amazing guy away, So that would be really, really so infinitely sad. So I hope that contractor does not get discouraged from Paul's extreme neediness for company and conversations. And I see how desperate Paul is for friends. We have no friends, so I'm his only human friend. We are a family of 2 humans and 1 dog, and he has really nobody to talk to at all about these things that he likes to talk to people about, and those are the things that I'm not interested in. I'm not interested in drums. I like Tennessee Ernie Ford, which he likes. Really old-fashioned country type of music. The real oldies, some of them are nice. So he used to play country music in bars, and so he played all the real bad songs as well, and pop type of stuff, popular type of stuff, but usually country, and then he had 1 Latino band, but they kicked him out because he is not Latino, so they wanted a Latino drummer. And I'm glad because he ruined his hearing. Okay, so he did all kinds of things that ruined his hearing. So middle ear infection at age 2. And then he never really learned how to spell because of that. Because he didn't hear the consonants like S, or he can't tell the difference between E and I and those kind of things. So he mispronounces words. He can't spell because of that. And that affected a lot of people in his generation. So middle ear infection at age... Oh, he's coming. He needs that because he wouldn't know what to do if he could not be running like this. He'd go berserk. So he has to do this. But you're doing very well. Yes, you're doing so well. Yes, you're doing so well. Oh yes. So I'm glad he has this garden. It's slightly lopsided, which is not ideal, but at least he has a stretch of grass here that he can he can speed on, so that's really good. So Paul is really lonely, and he has nobody to talk to. And every time he finds someone who happens to be a drummer, which is the case with this contractor, then I notice a lot of contractors are also drummers. That's kind of strange. I find that. Yes, I guess it's a very masculine thing. Yeah, so both of that, drumming and contracting, very masculine, and therefore that's not really. I can't really talk to him for hours and hours about this. For me, it kind of ends with Tennessee Ernie Ford. He sings that song for me. 16 tons, what do you get? Another day older and deeper in debt. Said Peter, don't you call me, 'cause I can't go. I owe my soul to the company store. Ta 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 ta. Okay, so and then we learned a couple of those paragraphs of the song, but I always got it mixed up. So I finally printed it out. And then we sang it together, and he's very particular about the drum beat, even if he's not on the drums. So he has the rhythm. So he's very, very much into rhythm. So, and he always says, he calls me like having white man's disease, so he always calls people that don't have rhythm white man's disease. And he always praises the Afro community, the black community, and I know people will always, it doesn't matter what we say. If we say something good, they take offense, and if we say black, it's wrong. If we say Afro, it's wrong. It's always wrong. No, it's not wrong. He praises the Africans and black people for having enormous sense of rhythm, and they do, okay, and they have great voices, and they make great musicians, okay, and some of them, Jessie Norman, for example, great woman, opera singer, black opera singer from the United States, and many others. There are several others, okay, that took to classical music as well, but most of them are into, they're really into rhythm and soul and blues and those kind of things, and that's beautiful. It's wonderful. So yeah, he always praised them, and he always got annoyed with band people that didn't have that sense of rhythm. And so he wants to talk about this, and I don't blame him. He's very lonely, I mean, he played with, he actually played with Elvis Presley's guitarist, who used to play with Elvis Presley way in the past. Older guy, of course. So, and yeah, but when Paul was young, he used to play with that guy for a while, and he got along with him very well. They got along very well, and for some reason, they didn't stick together. I don't know what happened. Other things happened that kind of separated them, but not because they wanted to be separated. So he really liked that guy. I forgot the name now. So, and then there was another guy that really liked Paul's drums, and he happened to know Gary Busey. I think you know Gary Busey, the actor from Hollywood. Great actor. I absolutely love Gary Busey. But at that time, this was kind of an unfortunate circumstance. So that was around 2003, I think, 2002 or 2003, in LA, when Paul really was really suffering with the loud sounds from the drums and the music, and they didn't even want him to wear earplugs. And he was really suffering from that, and he had already damaged his hearing so much from the middle ear infection and then from the music. So he wanted to not play drums anymore, and I was also very, very stern about this, and I didn't want him to play anymore. But then he got an offer from one of his friends that really like his drumming, and that guy said he is friends with Gary Busey, and Gary Busey was looking for a drummer to do a Holly show. Okay, so on his own. So he wanted to do some kind of music show, video movie or something, reality movie or something. I love Gary Busey, you know. I didn't know at that time. I didn't know that much about him. So, and then it just so happened that Gary Busey had some domestic disputes with his former wife, and something happened. I don't know if this is true, but she claims that he got violent with her or beat her or shook her or something. They had an altercation, and it came out to the public, and then I was like, oh, that's not good. You shouldn't be playing with someone who has tendencies for violence, and I didn't realize that Gary Busey wasn't drinking anymore, so and I thought he was partying, and I didn't want Paul to be mixed up with that. So I said, don't do that, you can't do that. And Paul agreed. And I feel very much regret now about this situation, because that's what Paul likes to do. He likes to play drums, and he likes to make music. Okay. And he blossoms around other people who make music. And this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that we blew. He blew it and I blew it by being hypercritical of that situation and over-evaluating the situation, overthinking it, in terms of, oh, the music's hard on the ears. Oh, Gary Busey had an altercation with his wife. Oh, this is he shouldn't be involved and stuff like that. And it was completely wrong, the whole thing. The wife may have even lied. You know, there's no telling what people do, and then they go to the public with that. So, turns out Gary Busey is an amazing person. Okay, that I found that out later. He made an Outer Limit film that I watched, and after that he had already met. I didn't know of. I found later. I found that, I don't know, just a bit later. So synchronicity brought me to Gary Busey's movies then, and on the internet, and it was also on TV. Those Outer Limits. Or where did we watch this? Yeah, I think it was on TV at that time. So, and I was absolutely amazed at his acting, at his energy, kindness, and so on. Later on, I watched reality shows where he was in, and he's enormously funny and attuned to the infinite cosmos, and I felt so sad. I felt such regret that we blew this, you know. We told that guitarist that Paul couldn't do it. And had he signed up for that, for the Buddy Holly show of Gary Busey, they could have been a team, they could have been working together. He could have felt the sense of music and connectiveness and made money on top of it, you know, and made more friends. This is an opportunity, this is an entry door for making friends, meeting people that you've always wanted to meet, you know. This this is a once in a lifetime situation, and then we blew it. And that's what Tony Robbins is talking about these situations. You never want to pass up an opportunity to be happier. Never ever. Always make friends with people. So this was a very sad learning experience for us. For me in particular. He doesn't cry a tear after this. He is still sure that this was not a good idea to do. But after finding out that Gary Busey is amazing, I really, really regret it. And he would have let him wear earplugs also, and to not be suffering too much with his already damaged eardrums and broken off hearing hair on the cochlea and stuff like that, and then shattering sounds of the music. He could have worn, they make very good earplugs, also particularly for musicians. He could have used that. He could have, if he had been more engaged into this situation, he could have found a solution for that. But he wasn't engaged into it. He's a dabbler type of person. He dabbles on the spot, kind of like a treadmiller, sort of. Any person with a sense of moving forward would immediately say, let's meet with Gary Busey, let's talk, let's do a, whatever they call it, one of those test gigs or whatever they call it. Let's do that and see how it goes. So I am not that much into music, but I like Gary Busey, and the sun is following me. I really like Gary Busey, and I would love to meet Gary Busey and his wife. They are amazing people. Okay, his wife is cool with a K and 10 O's. Cool. She is cool. Okay. The coolest. They have a son together and they're happy, and I'm happy for them. It's really, really nice that he finally found love in his life. It's really, really wonderful. And I wish that for Paul so much, I wish for Paul friends and love and happiness. I know he's not happy with me at all. Not at all. We're not compatible on any level. And it's all sad. And I sit here and my happiness is somewhere out there. Somewhere not here, okay? Not here and not with Paul. My dogs are buried there. This house is sacred. This place is sacred, and I love this place. But I know that other places are calling me energetically. The desert is definitely calling me. The northeastern corner of California is calling me. Goose Lake area is calling me. This is not my energetic vibration. The way he acts, the way he feels, he feels totally bottled up. He doesn't even know it. He's not even aware about it. I tried to find him a woman. That never went right, I really tried. I care about him. I care deeply about Paul. Deeply. He's like a dad for me, He's like a brother. He's like someone very close, who I care about. I want him to be happy, I want him to find happiness. I would even, if the situation was in a way where we could choose between staying together and Paul staying unhappy, or me exiting this existence, and then upon my exit Paul would find happiness, I would exit. I would do that for him, because I want him to be happy. I wouldn't stick around and continue to cause him unhappiness if that was a situation. But obviously that's never the situation. Okay, never. Nobody ever has to commit suicide, and nobody ever has to murder anyone, okay, in order to break away from a miserable situation or relationship or whatever. Whatever situation anyone is in, whether someone could be in a hospital, they can find a solution to get out of there. So they can. Like I said about that lady that had been in a wake coma for 4 years, and she got out with her own willpower. I know that we can get out of the most difficult situations, So anyone who's in any kind of difficult situation, they should not be complaining. There are people that had been in a wake coma that got out. So there were people in Nazi Germany in concentration camps, and they managed to get out. Some of them. Okay, Viktor Frankl is one of them. So he later became a therapist. And I've done that therapy for about a year with someone, and it's called logotherapy. It's about what makes you happy, what makes sense, follow that, pursue that. And so Tony Robbins also talked about Viktor Frankl and that situation. I didn't even know that the Viktor Frankl had been in a concentration camp, and he played dead in the midst of total adversity. He was able to get out of there. So if we really want to get out of a difficult situation, we can. And so can I get out of this difficult situation here. So it's very difficult, very, very difficult, and I don't know if I can, but if I put my mind into it, I will figure it out. We will figure it out. Praying helps. People always say, "Oh, that's you're not doing anything if you just sit there and ask the infinite cosmos to pull you out of the situation." No, we also have to brainstorm. We have to meditate on it. We have to find a solution to get out. So I pray to the Blue God every day, and I also try to find solutions. I meditate, and I work on myself, and I try to make the absolute best thing out of this very situation that is so incredibly difficult for me. Once in a while I make some bumped up videos just to give you a glimpse on what my suffering is like, because this is happening on the daily basis. I'm not always showing it in my videos. I usually make videos where I feel kind of calm and collected, and where I usually meditate first for a while before I make the video, and I collect my thoughts and all of the stuff that I've been wanting to talk about, so that I can discuss all of these things with you, all of these ethics problems and so on. I want to get that out into the world as much as I can. But it's very difficult for me, very, very difficult. This is one of the most difficult situations in my life here, but I can somewhat deal with it now because I have done already a lot of work on myself. So I've already gotten away from my parents that were not good for me at all. Okay, not good at all. Okay, very bad, particularly my mother. Okay, and my grandfather was a real bully. Okay, so my mother's a troll. So kind of like underhanded troll is my mother, and like passive aggressive. Like humiliating people in that way. And my grandfather was just straightforward humiliating us, particularly me. As long as every time I had been around him, he couldn't help it. He would have to humiliate me. So, and that, I'm sure that has to do with his emotional pain, and there's something about me that must be signaling something to him. Something about me that I'm just guessing now that probably signals that maybe that I looked at him with a critical eye, So I tried not to show it, but my face is pretty much an open book, so always was. I'm not a poker face, I never have been. So my grandfather probably picked that up. He felt criticized by me just by my facial expression. And he had huge ego issues. So Paul is lonely, he's talking to that guy, and it's wonderful, and I'm happy about this. And so this is making him feel better, I can tell already. This is good. I feel a bit sorry for that guy. Kind of like he hires him by the week, But the guy has to do more psychotherapy than fixing up that deck. So, but the guy seems to not mind, which is like, oh, thank you, Blue God, man. This is Blue God, this is a real present. God level, so I could feel it energetically. They live across the street from us. So I could feel it energetically that he's amazing. Okay, so and strong and young and kind-hearted and dedicated with his wife and wonderful family, and I'm happy to see that. I'm happy to see happy people. So my happiness is out there in the northeastern corner of California. I also like Nevada, and I like all that entire area there. Yes, you are my everything. And the legs are stretched now, all the way back, like a nice lady in a bikini with her legs stretched back. Double jointed knees, yes, that is nice, and the belly all the way on the grass, and that feels good. Oh, that feels so good. Oh yeah, that feels so good. And the baby dog, he likes the contractor. He never barked at him, not even once, and that's because he knows that the contractor is also a God level soul, like he is. So, yes, a beautiful baby dog. Yes, American Bully, Stuffy. Yes, I'm sure he's 100% American Bully. I don't like the name, so I call him Stuffy. Stuffy, like a stuffed animal. No, Staffi. Stuffy, baby. Okay, so I also wanted to talk about Another Earth in this video, but all of this ties into it, Another Earth is a movie that I really want to watch. the entire movie. I think that's a great idea. It's a great film. Very eerie, again, very, very eerie. Suddenly another Earth shows up in the sky, much bigger than the moon. Like, kind of like, I don't know, they have two moons also, but suddenly there's another Earth, and that Earth must be at the same distance to us from the moon. So now we see in this video another Earth, even during the day, like just as we see the moon. I talked about this yesterday with that space station. When the sun is in an angle where there's still sunlight here, but the sun is also kind of like an illuminating part of us, but also illuminating other objects that are in the sky above us, and then we can see them also during the day. So otherwise we would not be able to see them if the Earth is putting a shadow on them. So obviously, and that's what happens with the moon. The moon, we see the moon according to the shadow that is cast onto it by the Earth, and then according to the shadow we might see only a sliver of the moon, and there are rare occasions where the moon is completely shadowed by the Earth, but the sun is still behind the Earth, creating this ring, and a ring around the shadow. So, but yeah, in that film it's very eerie suddenly, and very well done. Suddenly they see another Earth, just exactly like ours. The scientists are puzzled. They're checking this out with Kepler telescope. Every single thing exactly identical. Can you imagine how creepy that would be? And so I don't know if I talked about this before, but I talked about this to Paul. So I watched the review on it, and so there's this young woman just out of college or university, and she's driving at night, and she hears the radio report, there's another Earth in the sky. They shouldn't be even saying this on the radio when people are driving. That's not a good idea, because if I was driving, first of all, the first thing I would do is I would pull over to the side, I would put the emergency lights on, and I would listen to the entire report, and I would get out of my vehicle and I would try to look and see. Okay, that would be such a shocking thing that I probably would get a heart attack over that. I mean, I'm very, very skittish with those kind of things. If I see something that is so different to what science knows, so if I saw a twin of myself, if I suddenly saw a clone of myself, I would be so shocked. It would be bad. My knees would give out. I would fall. Fall to the ground, and I have to away from the sun. And I might get a heart attack. So, but anyway, that lady in the movie, she only leans out of the window, and she sees the new Earth, and then she doesn't pay attention to her car, and she crashes into a family in the car. Total collision, and she kills the mother, the children, and the father is in a coma in the hospital. Finally comes out of the coma, which is really the worst situation you can imagine. A loving father, family, all of that. And then he loses them like this in a brutal way. I think the mother was also pregnant, and how horrific, And so he gets back home. He lost his friends. Many people even gave up on him. He was in a coma. He starts drinking alcohol. He's totally devastated. And the girl felt unbelievable remorse. Unbelievable. It was bothering her so much. I would feel exactly the same way. It would be so horrible. I would feel such terrible remorse. I don't know if I would actually seek that person though. I don't know if I would try to find that person. I think I would write a letter, a really long letter, and I would express my deepest grief over that situation, to show that I have infinite compassion for him and remorse and grief over that, because I know that would make him feel a little bit better. But that girl, she was feverishly trying to find him and she wanted to help. She wanted to fix something that cannot be fixed. So they finally found each other and became friends, and after a while they became lovers, and she could not tell him. She just couldn't tell him that it was her. And I can understand, because she doesn't know how he reacts. And so she finally told him, and he went completely berserk. He shoved her against the wall, and he hollered at her. He was devastated. He said, "Get out of my house. You ruined my life." After they had already been seeing each other and in love and everything. But that was so devastating for him, that this woman would come and seek him and sleep with him and all of this, and he doesn't even know. That's why it is so incredibly important that we disclose everything to each other right up front, because if you do that later, it just causes more problems. This is just a movie, but these kind of situations, they do happen, People maybe getting together with someone, but they carry a secret and they don't want to talk about it. For example, there was a police officer lady in real life. There was a police officer lady in LA. She brutally murdered a woman, while on duty. Bit her and out of jealousy and all of that. Horrific thing. There are documentary films about her and all of that. And she never told anyone, but they had blood samples of the corpse, and they had taken a bunch of samples from the wounds and stuff like that. They weren't very good with DNA testing, really, at that time. But they saved these samples just in case. They had these samples were in a lab. And so when they got better with DNA testing, there were people that suspected her. There were, I think, other police officers that suspected her. But they didn't know how to prove it. And in the meantime, that lady gets married to another police officer, has children with him, never told him any of that, never disclosed it. But the DNA tests, they caught up with her, and they finally, what they did is, they followed her to a McDonald's, and they, when she left, they took she just left the trash on the table. That's what a bad person, really selfish, horrible psychopaths. Yeah. And biting a woman to death, that's unbelievable. And also beating her, and she really wanted to let it out on that other woman. So real horrible, miserable person who should never be a police officer. She also made people on the street walk back and forth to prove her ego and all of that kind of stuff. Terrible, horrible psychopath. So she should never be a police officer. But finally the DNA caught up with her, and those people that suspected her, they took the remaining stuff from the whatever she had in their French fries and crumbs from a burger or something, and they had that tested in the lab. And lo and behold, that was her DNA. That was the other DNA other than the woman that was killed. Okay, so it was a complete match. They got her. Then they interrogated her, and that video is on YouTube as well. And when they finally told her in that interrogation that the DNA results came in as positive, the look on her face, she was absolutely mortified. I mean, the look on her face, she was like she was seeing a zombie or something. You know? She was absolutely, her entire world broke apart. But she pulled up this lie for so many years. You know, I couldn't do this. There's no way I could be sustaining a lie like that for that long. And the way she acted also, it was kind of, anyone who would really pay attention to this would be suspicious already. You know, she had nervous tics and twitches and stuff like that. Particularly when the subject came to that case, that murder case. So, but you know, that's why. But people lie because they are mentally ill. So if I tell them you need to disclose things to make things easier, how can they when they are mentally ill and when they're suffering like this? So then it's they can't, right? So someone who is much more well, maybe mentally ill in different ways, but more well in overall, you know, kind and well and thinking about others, which is a mental wellness state, right? Like we can have OCD and all of that. Oh, there was some saliva coming out of the mouth. Oh yeah, we can have OCD, but oh yes, gorgeous dog. Oh yes, a gorgeous dog. Look at that gorgeous dog. Look at that gorgeous dog. Oh my goodness, that is a gorgeous dog. Oh yeah. Oh, what is a gorgeous dog is that? Oh yeah. Oh, that is a gorgeous dog. Look at that gorgeous dog. Entzückende. Oh God. Yes, entzückend. He's entzückend. Entzückend. Okay. So, but yeah, I mean, OCD is one form of mental illness, but that doesn't define someone's mental clarity or compassion or vision or provision for others, you know. So that's just something, that's a mental illness that we dabble with in our own lives, in our daily lives. So we're not letting it out on others. But the cluster B mental illnesses they are absolute. That's a totally different way of coping. It's not coping, of dealing, trying to deal, you know, with emotional pain. So they're letting it out on others. They're lashing out in different forms. Okay, so they're making other people miserable, and that's their what they think is their coping mechanism. But it's not coping, and it's complete unwellness. Okay, to hurt others, complete unwellness, complete mental illness. That's complete insanity. Okay, so, and how can I talk to someone who lies through their entire life, and they're dishonest and deceiving and tricking other people and criminal and violent and psychopathic? How can I convey my message to them and say, you need to disclose what you have done to your beloved sweetheart, okay? So, because you don't want a bitter surprise to happen later on. You need to be honest about everything. So it's very, very important. This is really my number one philosophical platform, that makes my entire way of thinking and dealing with other people. For me, I just know bottom up that I have to be honest. I can't do it any other way. And then I had a friend who said, not the mistress of my dad, happened to say to me, and that doesn't come as a surprise. She would say, Nikki, she liked me, but she said, Nikki, you're a little bit too honest. No. You're also very honest. Like, you're very honest. Like, yes, I don't want to be too mean, but you're really honest and too honest, kind of. It's not good. It's like saying to someone, man, you're kind of dirty. You need to wash yourself more often. So then things would be better, No, I'm extremely clean and I'm extremely honest, and to her the honesty is kind of like a problem. So she lived her life. She was a kind person, but she lived her life with lies. I couldn't do this. There's no way. They both played some kind of happy-go-lucky friendship. That was an affair. They played that lie to my mother, okay, and to other people. That all finally came out, but it's all ridiculous, all of this. I couldn't live like this. I could never live a lie like my dad and Barbara did. I love Barbara, very much, very dear friend of mine, but I couldn't do this. And she suffered from this, obviously, and she was an alcoholic. And that's what caused her the C word. I don't want to say it. And that's what she died from. Okay, horrific, really horrific. So, yeah, but we need to be honest with each other about everything. We really have to be. We have no other choice. You have no other choice other than to be radically honest to yourself and others. So this movie, Another Earth, I want to watch the whole film. I don't know if I can watch the whole film from the movie Oxygen. So I don't know. I might get a heart attack. So that's kind of brutal. But maybe I'm thinking about it because it's so well done. Really amazing film. But Another Earth, I don't know who made this film, so I have to put more research into this now. That seems very, very intriguing and also very poetic. It has violence, like I mentioned before, but that is the beginning of the film. The film doesn't stay violent. It's kind of like the other way around from Elysium, where it's peaceful in the beginning and then it's violent. So I don't want any violence in a movie, and if they can avoid showing a car crash, which they don't, but it's kind of brutal, all of this, but the whole story is about psychology and remorse and guilt. And this incredible phenomenon of another Earth showing up in the sky. And how do we react to this? The way they showed people on the street reacting to this doesn't seem realistic to me. The people were kind of like in a trance, like looking up. I don't think that people would act like this. If there was a new Earth suddenly in the sky and people saw it, and there was a scientific report on it that says that it's identical to this planet, I think people would go berserk on the street. There would be a lot of car accidents, for sure. And people would, it would completely pull out everything, or the entire, everything they know, their belief system, everything from under their feet. Okay. It's like Paul, atheists like this, you know. That's another belief in being an atheist. That's the belief in some kind of linearity and limitation of. That's where evolution ends or begins. There's no beginning. Okay. Atheists don't really want to wrap their heads around infinity, and neither do religious people, of course. Anyone who's kind of set in their minds on that what they know, they're set on linearity and centrism and duality. So they don't want to hear about that things keep going, you know, that they don't want to hear about infinity, they don't want to hear about endlessness of space and energy and time, in terms of looking at time and in terms of measurement. So time is totally irrelevant. Time doesn't even, as Jiddu Krishnamurti said, time is completely irrelevant. Really, it really is. Time warps, you know, so we use time as a measurement here. We have to, you know, a contractor meets someone at 12 noon. He has to look at his clock and say, oh, I have to be there in a while. Or I call up and say, I'm delayed or something. So we deal with time in a mechanical way. But he said, Jiddu Krishnamurti pointed out that we can't deal with time when it comes to psychology. And when we first moved to this house, my entire brain was in time. Time is running out. Time. I had a crush on James Hetfield. Time is running out. I need to. Time's running out. I need to find my lover now for life and blah 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 blah. So, and I was lying there and I was all agitated, and it's like, this is horror. Yeah. So we need to calm the heck down and say, I'm here right now. I'm 57. Okay. And it's okay. And I have no lover. And it is okay. I can cry over it. I can cry my eyes out. Right? It's good. That's okay too. Breathe. It's okay. I'm here with a stuffy dog. I want a European Basset Hound. It's okay. It's okay. I love him too. It's okay. I'm here, and you are there, and that's also what Thich Nhat Hanh said. I am here, and that's all I need to say. I'm here. I am here, Blue God, on this spot here, with my computer, and Paul is there with the contractor. The baby dog is over there, and my dogs are buried over here, and I'm breathing. And no time is running out. I'm here. This is the present moment. This present moment is infinitely precious. This is the present, being in the present, okay? This is good. But most people are using time in a psychological way. Time is running out, time is of the essence. We got the realtors always. Time is of the essence and stuff. So. Hi! Good to see you! I'm making a video for YouTube. I think he's over there behind the cedar tree. I'll make part 2. So, peace and love. Peace and love for all living beings.